Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into an incredible story of high-stakes legal drama from thousands of years ago. It's really a masterclass in how one person, backed into a corner, can completely flip the entire game on its head.
And that's really the big question here, isn't it? We've got the Apostle Paul, and he seems to be at the absolute end of his rope. I mean, he's been rotting in prison for 2 years, his case is just stuck in limbo, and now his enemies are closing in with a brand new, deadly plan. But then, in a single moment, he turns the tables entirely. So how on earth does he pull it off?
Okay, so let's set the scene. Paul has been stuck in a prison in Caesarea, the Roman administrative capital, for 2 full years. The last governor, Felix, basically just left him there to win points with the local Jewish leaders. But now there's a new sheriff in town, Governor Festus. And get this, just 3 days after Festus takes office, Paul's accusers see their opening and they make their move.
To really get what's happening next, we need to understand the 3 key players on this chessboard and the subtle, really dangerous game they're all playing.
All right, so first up, you've got Paul. And the most important thing to know about him is that he's a Roman citizen, which gives him specific legal rights, even as a prisoner. Then you have Festus. He's the new guy. He really needs to establish his authority and, build relationships with the powerful local elites. And finally, you have the accusers, the high priests and leaders who see Paul as this major threat that needs to be permanently taken off the board.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. The whole story hinges on this one little Greek word, charis. On the surface, it just means grace or a simple act of kindness. But in the political world, it means something much more calculated. It's a political favor, a strategic deal you make to gain influence or buy loyalty. And this double meaning is the absolute key to the entire plot.
And this slide just perfectly shows the deception going on. Publicly, the accusers go to Festus and ask for a charis, a favor. Hey, just transfer Paul to Jerusalem for his trial, they say. Sounds pretty reasonable, right? A simple legal request? But their hidden intent, their real plan, was to set an ambush, an anadrata, and murder Paul while he was being transported on the road.
You got to give Festus some credit here at the start. He actually sticks to Roman protocol. He shuts down their request. He tells them, nope, Paul stays in Caesarea. You want to make your case, you come there and do it officially. So he's starting out by playing it by the book.
So, Festus heads back to Caesarea, and bam! The very next day, the trial kicks off. Now, this is supposed to be a formal legal proceeding, but you can already feel that political pressure just building.
The trial takes place at the bema, the judgment seat. And you have to understand, this wasn't just some random chair. It was the official, elevated platform that symbolized the legal authority of Rome. Everything that happens here is supposed to be official, formal, and bound by Roman law.
So the accusers who came down from Jerusalem, they just throw everything they have at him. The source material says they brought many serious charges against Paul. But well, there was one tiny problem. They couldn't actually prove a single one of them. Their entire case was built on accusations, not evidence.
Festus can see their cases falling apart. But remember, he still wants to build those local alliances. He wants to do them that halis, that political favor. So he turns to Paul and asks him this question, basically offering the accusers what they wanted all along. He's looking for a political way out, even if it means justice gets a little blurry.
I mean, just stop and think about this for a second. Put yourself in Paul's shoes. What an impossible position. If he says yes, he's walking into a kangaroo court in a hostile city where a guilty verdict is pretty much guaranteed. If he says no, he risks making the new governor angry. And either way, the journey itself is a death trap. Seriously, what would you do?
So, faced with this total no-win scenario, Paul doesn't pick option A or option B. Instead, he pulls a move that nobody, and I mean nobody, in that courtroom saw coming. He takes control of his own destiny with one single, stunning legal declaration.
I appeal to Caesar. With those 4 words, the entire dynamic in the room just shatters. Paul completely sidesteps the governor, he sidesteps his accusers, and he goes straight to the very top.
So why was this such a bombshell? Well, as a Roman citizen, Paul had this incredible legal trump card. The second he uttered those words, Festus lost all jurisdiction. Boof, gone. The local trial was over right then and there. The case was automatically transferred out of this compromised provincial court and sent all the way to Rome, to the highest court in the entire empire.
But this brilliant legal move, it was way more than just a clever way to get out of a tight spot. When we zoom out and look at the outcome, you can see how this courtroom drama was actually a key piece of a much, much larger story.
Let's just break down how this all shook out for everyone involved, right? The Jewish leaders, their whole motivation was to get rid of Paul.
The result? Their assassination plot was completely torpedoed. Governor Festus, he was just trying to gain political favor. The result? His little political deal was completely overridden by Roman law. And Paul, motivated simply by a desire to not be murdered, ended up securing a legally protected, all-expenses-paid trip to Rome.
And that is the wild irony in all of this, isn't it? The very people who were trying so desperately to end Paul's journey, to silence him for good, they were the ones who, through their own scheming, accidentally launched the most important chapter of his life. They guaranteed him a state-sponsored trip to make his case at the very heart of the empire.
So what's the big takeaway here? I mean, yeah, it's a gripping story of legal strategy and political survival, for sure, but it also kind of leaves you with a bigger question. When you're faced with a corrupt or a broken system, when it feels like earthly justice is just impossible, this story suggests that sometimes the only move left is to appeal to a higher authority, whatever that might mean to you.